is a presentation of the iRacing eSports Network.
Here on the iRacing eSports Network this weekend, the quarterfinals of the World Cup of iRacing have turned up some of the most exciting racing we've seen in this country-to-country competition. Certainly been one to remember on our side here at SimSpeed TV, and we look forward to bringing you this one. This is Road Match 5. It is Canada versus Northwest United States. My name is Reese Gardner. Joining me in the commentary box, Jay Kennedy. Jay, we're back in the Lotus 79 at Brands Hatch in the Finland versus Japan match last night. It was something exciting, and we certainly think it's going to be the same today.
Yeah, hello everyone. It was a good fun night of racing we had last night, and the guys over at RaceSpot have also had a really interesting night of broadcasting. We've got two matchups to come today, and both with the same clubs against each other, so it should be good fun. The Lotus 79 definitely turned on a show. A tough car to pass, and strategy on making sure you get that pit entry right is absolutely key. But looking at the qualifying times, I cannot believe how close they are right now. We're going to see a hell of a show.
Yeah, we certainly are. Greg Seitz is on pole at the moment for... Greg Seitz is part of the Northwest Club. So they're currently on pole in this session. We got in excess of 4 minutes, to go. until the end of this 10-minute qualifying session. Every driver has 4 laps to complete, and that will decide the grid for this first heat. Just a quick reminder of the event format for these shootouts. It's 2 15-minute races, reverse grid in the second one, and if the points are close between the two clubs, we go to a third 15-minute heat, again with an inverted grid, to decide who progresses to the next stage. So, very short and sweet. The drivers have to enter the pits and stop in their pit box once during each race. They don't have to take service, but they do have to come to a stop.
We saw last night that was really key on how to advance through the field and get yourself into better track position. Being stuck behind another car, it is really tough to pass, so being able to undercut another car, get some clear air, was really key and crucial on getting ahead of your opponents. Talking about the format as well in regards to points, it's points per race. Combined, you actually win the matchup, and if we do need a decider, we will have one. We have had one of our broadcast races go to a deciding race between the Germany, Austria, Switzerland club versus the New York club, which the Germany, Austria, Switzerland club did come out on top. Rick Seitz just goes faster, puts a bigger gap between he and the rest of the field, but the rest of the field is pretty close. I mean, we're seeing, what, 2 seconds, less than 2 seconds, or 1.5 seconds for the top 11 in this car, which is a very, very tough machine. That's actually quite close.
Yeah, definitely, considering the fact that, you know, I think a lot of these guys will be unfamiliar with this car and this track as well, being the way it is. Brands Hatch, very fast and flowing, but also bumpy and undulating. It's quite difficult in the Lotus 79 to wheel a car around here very quickly. We did see Joni Heikkinen last night in the Finland versus Japan matchup show us how it was done, taking that top section of the circuit in 4th gear, riding the rev limiter, using the downforce to his advantage. Greg Seitz, I think, may be using some of those same tactics. He's currently the only driver in the 112s, everyone else in the 113s, but from 4th place back, certainly does look very close, and we got to remember only the top 10 score points, so it's that 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th area that we got to keep a lookout for if the points are close.
And speaking of that area, have a look at how close the times are in that zone. 10th, 11th and 12th are separated by 7 thousandths of a second. 3 cars within 7 thousandths. That's nothing, literally nothing. So it's going to be really, really tight between those guys, and going to be great to watch as we've got, looks like we're not going to see anyone else improve because Brian Barnes still out on circuit, but I don't think there's enough time for him to get around to receive. The checkered flag, sorry, will be out for him before he gets to the finish line, so he won't be able to complete this lap. We'll go through our start grid.
We certainly will. Greg Seitz on pole position, Brandon Hawken in second, Jean-Francois Matte gets into 3rd position, Andy Fuller in 4th, with 5th taken by Jean-Francois Arsenault, Michael Jones in 6th place, Scott Velez in 7th, Claude Belval in 8th, Dick Mueller, Matthew Suboski rounding out the top 10 here.
And then that very, very tight section from there on, Derek Rolleveld and Ron Gale not too far behind for Team Canada. Got Robert Laronde and Wayne Hutchison, Brian Barnes and Chris Beck, the rest of the field. 16 cars, 8 representing each team, 15-minute race. Looking forward to seeing how this all plays out with a really, really tough format. But the short, sharp races back-to-back were really exciting last night. We're going to see a really good show.
Yeah, we certainly are. And we got to remember Brands Hatch, a circuit with not that many overtaking opportunities. The only real places you can put a definitive classic overtake are coming into turns 2 and 4. That's Druids bend and the turn going on to the Grand Prix circuit extension. So, lap 1, Paddock Hill. Difficult to go side by side through here at speed. And the driver who starts in first place is going to have the best advantage coming into turn 1. Not much of a chance to attack coming into this one.
We're looking around about 12 laps from what we saw last night. So 12 laps will be roughly the number, with a 15-minute race and a pit stop required. As we said, the pit stops really be key. We saw the drivers that took the pit really early did get a big advantage and a big jump. The rest of the field, as we wait for one more car to jump on the grid, and we'll get green flag in the air.
We certainly will, and that car is now on the grid, so the revs will be rising. Who is going to get the best jump here? The green flag flies. Team Canada at the front.
Oh, almost contact between the two leaders, wheel to wheel. Oh, car off!
Oh,
Andy Fuller in the
me.
fence.
Yeah, not good for Andy, and it looks like Brandon Hawken is trying to go around the outside here of Greg Seitz. He's going to have the advantage. Team Canada taking the lead here in the midst of the turn 1 chaos, sorry.
Great start there, and great to see that we've got Canada, Canada Northwest, Canada, the top 5. So it's a real mixed up field for now. Will we see it stay this way as we move on to complete this lap? It's not over at the front. Third and fourth, very, very close.
Yes, indeed. We are currently looking at third and fourth now. Very close racing. At the front of this one, Greg Seitz and Brandon Hawken have walked away, but Michael Jones and Jean-Francois Matt very close at the moment. There's some opportunities here to slipstream down the straights. Down this front stretch at Brands Hatch, you could call it a front straight, but it's not really a straight. It's almost constantly turning. Michael Jones just catching up to Mate there. Not able to get the advantage coming into Paddock Hill and Druids, though.
Almost compromised his run then, didn't it? Almost got too much of a slipstream and missed his braking mark and ran a little bit wide, but this has opened the door for Arsenault to come through. Here he goes.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, Arsenault, he's really going for it. Straight to the inside, putting the pressure on Jones. Just not getting that run up the straight, though. And when they come into this top section of the circuit, this is where aero push comes into effect. The Lotus 79, the first real ground effect Formula One car, very high downforce levels produced and very sensitive to aerodynamic change. So these guys can take these corners very fast, but they've got to be wary of following another car too closely across the top.
Wouldn't be surprised to see one of these three in the pits this lap. None of them do that, but we've already seen two drivers in the pits. Not a bad ploy if you can get yourself some fresh air and some clear track ahead. It might give you an advantage. We've got a few in the mid-pack starting to come into the pits, but this battle at the front of the field also is not over. Greg Seitz has come back on Brandon Hawken.
Yes, indeed. Got to remember, Greg Seitz has the lap time advantage. He qualified 5/10 ahead of Brandon Hawken. So he's definitely got that up his sleeve. We'll see if he makes use of that. You can see Brandon Hawken's last lap, a 14.05. Greg Seitz, a 13.7. So Northwest versus Canada up here at the front of the field, looking pretty spicy as they come through this very fast top section of Brands Hatch. These curbs, you've really got to be careful how you take them.
Yeah, they're the sort of curbs that you can be really aggressive on, but what that does, it lures you in to be too aggressive, and it can actually cost you and compromise you a lot of time. Hawken, I thought, was checking up to come into the pits there. We've also got to change of position. We've got a car very slow there. That's Michael Jones. He's got massive damage to the rear of the car. We'll see what's happened to him there, but that does not look too healthy. He looks like he's had a big hit in the wall.
Yeah, he certainly has. That's not good for him at all. So we're on replay here now. What happened to him? Just got into the grass. A little slow. He's had to go defensive against, I presume, Arzano. And, round he went. Yeah, so I think that was Arzano getting into the back of him, was it?
Yeah, I believe so. We're going to go get another look there and double check, because that's it's not a good incident there, and I think just a little bit slow through the mid-corner, and Arsenault trying to get a run. I'm sure that live admin that we do have in this series will be having a review of that one. We've also got another car stopped out on the circuit. It's a number 5 car.
Oh yeah,
Suboski just dropping back to the rear of the field. Andy Fuller also with a lot of damage to the front of his car. Field is
I tell you what, Suboski, as we were riding on board with Jones, I noticed Suboski actually coming into the pits. That's why Jones avoided getting into the pits. And Suboski, I don't think has... he hasn't repaired any of his damage. He took his pit stop, but he just stopped after Paddock Hill Bend once he came out.
It was a bit strange that one. We're going to go back up the field. There's a battle on 8th, 9th and 10th. These guys are all very close as Wayne Hutchison comes in the pits and Chris Beck's just been spun. I think he was checking up to come into the pits.
Oh no.
Oh, this has been entertaining to say the least so far, Reese. Controversial as well.
Yeah, certainly. Derek Roelveld we're riding on board with for this replay. So as they come into the last turn, stick into the inside and there we go. That is a real shame there. But that's part of a consequence, I guess, of the way the pit is set up here at Brands Hatch. If you're following another car, you have to be careful. You have to be prepared for them to stick to the inside and go slow out of that last corner.
2 controversial incidents in the first 5 laps of this race. First 5 laps of this matchup. Don't forget, straight after this matchup, we're going to do it all again, but on the oval side. So it's going to be quite controversial, to say the least. Going to be a lot of talking points to come out from this matchup, as we've got now half of our field in the pits, but the gap at the front is stretched out. Surprised to see how quickly that's grown. Brandon Hawkins just set the fastest lap of the race as well, so he's come back on Greg Seitz.
Yeah, that's quite surprising, and well done to Brandon Hawkins for doing that. Greg Seitz, I think, just unable to respond at this middle stage of the event. Of course, a lot of drivers falling into drama, suffering issues in the first half of this one, but Seitz and Hawkins up the front, they've been cruising away, just focusing on each other more than anything. We do have to remember that Northwest has 8 drivers here today. Canada also with 8, so it's a pretty even matchup between these 2 clubs.
And looking at iRating and things like that as well, license levels, everyone's very, very similar. So they're 2 evenly matched teams. It's why they qualified 4th and 5th in both as well, so both classes. So that's why we're seeing such an even matchup. At the moment, it looks like Canada will have a slight advantage in regards to points, but there is a possibility for reviews and incidents to be reviewed, and also for penalties to be handed out. If there's incidents, there can actually be a stop and go penalty applied to drivers, which could really hurt someone, could really hurt some of these guys that have been involved in incidents already, as we're past the halfway point. 6 minutes or so to go. About 6 laps of racing as well.
Yes, indeed. So time is running out, and the leaders are running into some trouble. It certainly is. Brandon Hawkins coming up on Chris Beck. Lap traffic. So that could be the lifeline that Greg Seitz needs. Chris Beck just going off the track to let his fellow Northwest by.
A little bit of friendly checking up of the opposition team. Not in. We don't mind a bit of that in this series. We've got another car, Wayne Hutchison, around facing the wrong direction. He's regathered it, but we're going to stay with these leaders because it's now back to half a second. This is the closest it's been since about lap 2 or 3. These guys still have to come into the pits as well.
Yeah, and you know what? With the pressure that's on here up at the front, that pit could be what decides this one, because remember, they don't have to take service. They just need to stop and go straight away. We saw stop times of down to 0.2 of a second in the Finland versus Japan matchup last night. So that's the kind of time that these guys are dealing with. They have to be absolutely on their marks. They have to make sure that they make 0 errors when they're in those pits, because
car in the fence. 56 is just gone back to the pits. We'll see if we can pick up what's happened.
So that's Claude Belval.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's coming down the front stretch in this replay. See what's going on. He might have made a mistake at Pat. Oh no. Oh
He's
no.
Wide. Has he?
Oh.
Car just snapped. Oh,
goodness me.
That wasn't what I was expecting to see in that replay there. So got
I
Greg
saw
Seitz
that.
in the pits. Saw that pit car, the car coming out of the pits. I thought, oh no, they're going to make contact between teammates, but that wasn't what it was at all. As Greg Seitz is in, stopped, 0.7 of a second, away he goes again. We've seen a few drivers actually have a little bit of trouble with their pit stops, maybe 2 to 3 second stops. So some of these guys have got to really be on it. Brandon Hawkins still yet to pit, the only driver left on track to pit. I'm going to say he'll be in this lap to make sure that there's no undercut from Greg Seitz.
Yes, indeed. And you know what? There's probably one factor that they may have to contend with is accidentally not turning off things like damage repair or
leaving a little bit of fuel in the car, so the car lifts up and automatically starts putting fuel in the tank, or changing a tyre, or accidentally clipping a tyre pressure adjustment will automatically start changing tyres. So if you make one of those little errors when you're trying to make sure you don't have anything on for your pit service, it can be quite difficult to remember all of those things, as Brandon Hawkins is going to continue for one more 3 or so laps to go. This is going to get really spicy, because I think the gap between those two cars is going to be pretty close come the end of the pit stops. Greg Seitz really has to put in a good lap this time by.
Yeah, he certainly does, and he is really pushing out there. Big commitment around this circuit. Got to be careful here through turn 1 Paddock Hill Bend, because over that curb, that's where Belval actually had his car come round, and the Lotus 79 very sensitive to these bumps. The car has to be set up stiff to take advantage of the ground effect, get that aerodynamic stability. So they've got to really be careful.
Pit lane time, the actual time it takes to drive from the pit entry to the pit exit, is around about 17 seconds. A gap between first and second, 17 seconds. So it's going to be pretty close. Of course, you do get a little bit of an advantage in the fact that you're still actually moving during that 17 seconds. But by the time you then get out of the pits and get up to speed, that negates any of that and still makes it around about that 17-second bracket. So this could be very, very interesting and very, very close. Once we see Brandon Hawkins in the pits. Yeah, he's going to come in next lap. He has to come in next time. You cannot pit on the last lap. 2 to go. He must come in next time. The penalty for not pitting is a 2-lap penalty and a forced pit lane start in the next race. So he must come in this time. If he doesn't come in, that's absolutely disastrous. I think he'll stay out, or I think he will pit. I think that'll be very, very well communicated with 2 of the best organised teams in this series out on track. But you never know. Strange things can happen. Easy to forget little things like that, especially if you're in the zone and out in front.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the Lotus 79 is one of those cars where once you get into the zone, you are well and truly in it. Especially here up the top, taking these very quick turns. Brandon Hawkins taking advantage of the downforce to take some amazing speeds through these corners. Little bit of a twitch.
Just going to drop back in the field a little bit. Battle between 7th, 8th and 9th. Starting to close up. Dick Miller and Robert Laronde starting to close up.
Hawkins in.
Oh, here we go. So Hawkins in the pits, and have a look at how close this is between 7th and 8th. Laronde is getting very, very tight. We're going to go back to Greg Seitz and see where he does come out. Brandon Hawkins still driving up to his pit box. I think Seitz is going to get this.
Yeah, he may just.
Hawken away. Oh, he's just going to hold on. Brandon Hawkins done a great job. But there's not much between them. It's about 1 second. So around about the same gap. We're going to go back to this other battle because LaRonde is right on the tail of Dick Muller. This is going to get really spicy and really close.
Yeah, LaRonde on the back here of Dick Muller. This is pretty crazy here for 7th and 8th. And this is some for the minor points paying positions. So it's these little bits of points that are going to make the difference later on. You can see LaRonde, he was getting really close to Muller at the end of this slow infield section on the last lap. So we'll take a look at what he does down the straight. This is the last lap.
Oh, he just had to check up a little bit there. I thought he might have been able to get a run, but Muller was just a little bit slow, and LaRonde had to check up and wasn't able to get the momentum at the front too. The gap is close to 0.8 of a second, but it's not going to matter because Brandon Hawken will take the win. Good drive from him. Greg Seitz in second. Currently, if all the positions stay as they are, Canada will win race number 1.
And it will be well done to Canada as well. LaRonde not able to get an advantage on Muller here. He actually, I think, is down on straight line speed. He was not able to get that run down the straight.
Maybe it looks like a few of the guys are running a really different gear ratio. They're getting the acceleration. They're just not able to get the top speed down the straight and use the draft. But good job from Muller to hold on. But looking at the points, I'll quickly add up the points in a minute when we go through the race results. But it looks like, from what I can see, Team Canada has picked up a fairly convincing win in race number 1.
Yes, indeed. Very well done there. So Brandon Hawken in position 1. Greg Seitz in second. Scott Velez made his way up from 7th to 3rd for Canada. That's really good from him. Derek Rolleveld in 4th. Jean-Francois Arsenault and Matt in 5th and 6th. Dick Muller in 7th. 8th, Robert LaRonde. Andy Fuller in 9th, and Ron Gale rounding out the top 10. That does look like a very convincing win for Team Canada. And now we go through to the second heat of the night, the field inverted.
Yep, and that'll be really, really fun to watch. We love the inverted grid last night. Tonight we'll see it. We're just quickly adding up the points. It looks like Northwest 31 points. So just confirm the points for Team Canada. But it looks like without any penalties, which there could still be something happening in the background. But Team Canada looks like they might have a fairly convincing win. Unconfirmed, of course. They finish on 90 points at this stage.
So provisionally well in favour of Team Canada. Let's see if Northwest can hit back at them in this one. Exactly the same circumstances as the race before, but the field is completely inverted. So it's Claude Belval starting on pole position for Team Canada. And the revs are rising now that the 1 minute barrier is over. Who is going to win out coming into... Oh no, that's a stall!
Oh,
oh no! Look out! Goodness me!
that was not what I was expecting to see at the start.
Oh, yeah. Was that Belval who stalled?
I'm not sure who that was, but
Yeah,
have a look.
it was.
Brandon Hawken already up into 5th position.
Yeah, Brandon Hawken really taking advantage of that lap 1 chaos. I'm just going back to have a look at what happened to Claude Belval, Jay. Just, I have no idea what went on there. It looks like his wheel was
He's had a failure of
hard
some sort.
left. His wheel was hard left. What a shame.
That's not going to let me bring up a replay of that, so we'll come back
Oh,
live.
Hawken.
And Hawken and Fuller going at it.
Yes, indeed. Hawken convincingly going by Andy Fuller there in the top section of the lap. So, taking advantage there of the start chaos was Brandon Hawken. He is going to make up quite a few positions on this
big
first
battle
lap.
back in the field. 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, all going at it. There's side by side, nearly 3 wide down the front straight. Muller through.
Yes, indeed. Muller very close, and that's Jean-Francois Matt, Wayne Hutchinson, and Chris Beck all battling here. Greg Seitz up ahead of them, second place finisher in race 1. He's trying to make his way up. But Muller starting to come under a bit of pressure from Matter here.
Obviously just got that move done on the front straight. Now he's feeling the pressure coming back once again. Had to defend for a lot of that last race. Wouldn't be happy to have to do it again in this one. Kind of thought he might have a little bit easier of a job, but it's not going to be too easy out here.
Yeah, well, 15 minutes isn't a very long time by any stretch of the imagination, but when you're defending against someone in a race, it seems like hours and hours. And Muller actually running slightly off into the grass, so...
Yep, made a mistake, and that's compromised about 3/10. He's feeling the pressure from behind.
And he's going to go straight for the pits.
Everyone's
going to be followed in.
And this is, almost contact between them coming into the pits. This is what we saw last night. A lot of guys realised and learnt from the first race that pitting early was the go. As Greg Seitz trying to come through the field. He's got Ron Gale ahead. Gale is a lot slower on outright pace than Greg Seitz. He's getting really held up right now. We won't be happy seeing Brandon Hawken off in the distance.
Yeah, certainly not. And Seitz is going to go up the inside here. We'll see if Gale can defend. He certainly is. Greg Seitz will be frustrated, and he's actually missed a gear. So that just adds to the frustration for Greg Seitz.
This has been a tough old run for him so far. He's had such a good run in qualifying, and then from there it's just gone from bad to worse. Little mistakes like that show where pressure is really being applied. We'll see if he can get this move done, but the gap between he and Hawken is just growing by the second.
Yeah, and with that excellent first lap from Brandon Hawken, seems like he's well and truly stated his claim here as Seitz goes into the pits.
Good move to get some clear air. He needed to do that to get out of it. It's up the front. The battle is on. Brandon Hawken has closed up that gap.
Yes, indeed. So Michael Jones will be looking in his mirrors there for Northwest, and he'll be seeing that Canadian machine bearing down on him. Let's see how they do down this back straight. Michael Jones, 14.494 on the last lap, a 13.87 for Brandon Hawken, so big pace advantage. It'll all come down to how well Michael Jones can defend here. See if he can take a win for Team Northwest. Of course, Jones started in 5th for this one. I tell you what, the grid versus field numbers positions are looking mighty jumbled right now. They're both going to stay out for now. Brandon Hawken doesn't seem to be bearing down on him as much as I thought he would. It seems like that aero unsettling may be starting to get to him. Maybe his best chance of a move is here in this slower section of the lap where the downforce doesn't matter as much.
Well, the other option is to just jump in the pits if your opponent doesn't. It's easier to pass in the pits than it is out on the track with the way that the aero works in these cars, as there's looking to be a pass. Greg Seitz did come into the pits to get some fresh air, but it hasn't worked. He's come out behind another Team Canada car who is just happy, just holding up Greg Seitz a little bit there and helping his team out. Not doing anything against the rules, not blocking, just making sure the car's in the exact right spot at the right time.
That's exactly right. That's Derek Rolleveld in the Team Canada machine. And Seitz, you can see, just getting a tiny bit of a draft coming up the back straight, but he's just not close enough coming into these corners. The slipstream is continuing.
Change for the lead.
Oh, yes.
Hawken is through. Trying to get a replay and see how that happened, but that's happened very, very quickly. It looks into the final corner. Strange, unusual passing spot. You don't normally see passes at the final corner of Brands Hatch.
No, you certainly don't. So we'll have a look at what happened to Michael Jones. Maybe made a mistake.
Yeah, he did.
Oh,
Ran
yeah.
wide off in the grass, so easy move in the end there for Hawken. Jones won't be happy with how that's played out. He was doing a great job holding on for the lead, but it's an easy position gain for Team Canada.
Yep, certainly is.
Side
So,
through.
yes, Derek Rolveld not able to respond to that. So now Sights up into position 7.
Rolveld's not letting him go though, which is good to see. I thought that Sights might have just broken away, but not able to do so at this stage. So good to see Rolveld still just holding on to the rear of Greg Sights here.
Yes, indeed. Have a look at that run that Sights got out of the double apex right, though. He's very strong in this section of the track.
Two cars in the pits, Andy Fuller and Matthew Sobrowski. So field's starting to shuffle into their actual positions. I think 2 cars left to pit in this race.
Yes, indeed. One of them being, actually the 2 of them being Brandon Hawken and Michael Jones. Have a look at the gap. Yeah.
How's that for thinking the same thing at the same time? Hawken
You'd almost
just did
think we were twins.
Hawken just did the fastest lap of the race as well, 13.7 versus Michael Jones at 15.0. So that shows how much Hawken was being held up while he was behind Hawken there. And amazing the pace that he's got. I'm going to say Michael Jones will come in now. But the gap between Greg Sights and Brandon Hawken in this race is now 25 seconds. So Greg Sights has been well and truly held up in this race.
Yes, indeed. Michael Jones in. Brandon Hawken staying out. He's going for that really late pit stop once again.
Well, it's worked in the first one. I think it's going to be okay in this one. As long as he doesn't get held up with lap traffic or make a mistake. Looks like Canada might be fairly safe for a position 1 in this one. The rest of the field's still fairly open, but at this stage, Canada looks like it has got a bit of an advantage.
Yes, indeed. And in terms of lap traffic, I don't think Brandon Hawken is going to have anywhere near the issues that he had in race 1. The next car up the track is Scott Velez, who is also of Team Canada, and he's, I think, about a third of a lap ahead. So, Brandon Hawken with that clear air.
Greg Sights is starting to close up on the rear of Andy Fuller, but these guys are teammates, so I don't think this will be too tough. Last lap by was Andy Fuller's out lap, so not a representative lap time, but based on fastest lap times, Sights a full second faster. Only 2 drivers doing 1 minute 13 lap times. The rest of the field are in the 1:14s, 1:15s. Those 2 drivers are Greg Sights and Brandon Hawken, who we would expect to be the 2 drivers doing the fastest laps because they have looked incredibly quick and incredibly comfortable in these cars.
Yeah, they certainly have. The class of the field.
Whoa,
Sights
right,
making a mistake. It's not going to help him. A little bit of dirt on those
Commentator's
tyres.
curse is real today, isn't it?
Oh, it certainly is. Brandon Hawken looks like he stayed out once again.
Yeah, I think he'll stay out until the last lap again, until lap 11, and come in just to do that one final lap after the stop. If you are tuning in for the first time, every driver must take a pit stop, must stop in their pit box, register for service.
From the admins, very tight. Northwest currently 3 points ahead.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a lot closer than we thought, Jay.
Yes, it is a lot closer. I thought that it looked like in this one, Canada is looking okay in this one, but I'm guessing my maths might be a little bit off. But race 1 definitely in favour of Canada as the last position, which could decide it if there's only 3 points in it. That'll give a 4-point swing back to Team Canada and give them a 1-point lead. This is on for the last spot that scores points.
Yes, indeed. And Dick Mueller really defending hard here against Jean-Francois Matt. Of course, not able to make a move coming into this fast section. Love this section. It's just never-ending right turns. The left side tyres get a huge workout here. They've only got a few laps left to decide this one. And I think Mueller will be aware of the situation here. So will Matt.
Yeah, these guys will be getting told what they need to do and what positions are key and where the points will be decided. And we saw yesterday as well, the last night's races, that the last position was so key in who decided the matchups. It's amazing to think that 10 point scoring positions and the last position is the one that's going to decide who will go through. As we've got a car off the circuit.
Ooh.
Laronde off the circuit. That won't affect the points because everyone will stay in regards to team points in the same position. Brandon Hawken in the pits. We're going to go back to this battle because the draft is very, very real for Matt. Not able to get the move done. He's got to try and find where he can get this done. It is really tough to pass in these cars at this circuit.
It certainly is, and Mueller did very well there to get on the defensive coming down the straight. Of course, we saw some spectacular outside line moves in last night's race, but oh, have a look, Mueller very slow. Slow out of there. Oh, almost getting across the back, and Matt,
what a move.
Right through.
It's not over though. You're going to see the cutback. Mueller's back through.
Oh,
what a fight. Two to go.
This is huge. So they got to go around and do it for one more lap here. At least one more. Certainly not over. Mueller slow again on exit.
Oh.
Matt trying to go to the inside. There's going to be contact. They both spin. They're going to scramble to get going. Mueller gets back ahead with some damage to the rear. Going to go to a replay here, Jay.
Wow. We sort of were thinking in the back of our minds that we could see controversy in this race, and there it is. Saw a little bit in the first race, but this is even more controversial.
Yeah, so Matt got the better exit and decided to try. Oh, yeah, he decided to go for the move almost, but then just decided to get back online. Yeah, but unfortunately Mueller was already on the brakes early, so wow, very controversial. So with that, now Northwest is 7 points ahead of Canada.
Wow, interesting. So this is means that we might actually see our first, out from our side of things, our first deciding race. Brandon Hawken's going to run away with this one, but wowee.
Yes, indeed. Brandon Hawken, untouchable in this round of deciders. Really showed his class here. And I guess that lap one really cements him as one of the star drivers of this one. So Brandon Hawken rounding the final turn. He will take the win for Team Canada, but Northwest 7 points ahead as of the positions now.
There's a bit of a battle pack going on, but that's all between teammates. They've sort of all separated into teammate groups. We'll wait for official confirmation from the admins and the stewards on where the points actually lie in that race. But wow, what a controversial end. I think Matt dropping back, not fighting anymore. I think he knows he's done the wrong thing there. He's dropped back, knows that he'll probably get penalised if he tried to go and continue that move. So positions stay as they were. We'll wait for confirmation from race control on how that's going to play out with the results on screen now.
Yes, indeed. So Brandon Hawken taking a convincing win for Team Canada. Michael Jones in second, with Greg Seitz completing the podium. Andy Fuller makes it 2, 3, 4 for Northwest. Derek Roelveld in fifth, with Ron Gale in sixth. Jean-Francois Arsenault in 7th place, Matthew Staboski in 8th, Robert Laronde in 9th, and rounding out the top 10, Dick Mueller.
So, just waiting for confirmation from the admins on where we are at, but from what I can work out, it does look like we will go to a decider. We'll wait for confirmation, and from there we will confirm what's going on. But we're just waiting for the admins to tell us what's going on as well. But what a race that was! That was fantastic fun, and we knew that we were going to be in with a really good show there.
Yeah, certainly. The Lotus 79, always spectacular to watch. Even watching someone driving this car on their own is awesome to watch. But when you put them all in a race like that, with a fantastic circuit like Brands Hatch, certainly is a fantastic experience.
We will have a decider by the looks of things race, because 62 to 59 in favour of Northwest over Canada. So they come back. It's now 1 match all. We need a decider.
Yes, indeed. So they're going to go for one more 15-minute run here. It's going to certainly be a very tight one. They are all going to be aware of the potential consequences, what's at stake here.
And I'm just going to try and get a replay of the original start from that last race, because that was such a strange incident at the start.
Yeah, it was very weird. I noticed, Claude Belval, his wheels were completely on the lock stop on the left side. He just went straight across the grid when he got going, so not an optimal start by any stretch.
Actually, it wasn't as messy a start, just that one car that had that sort of weird hardware issue. But we're just now wait. We've got a couple of minutes before we get into our finale. The deciding race. It's great to see that we've got a decider in one of these broadcasts. And as we said, as soon as we finish this broadcast, we'll be straight into our next one for the oval matchup. It's going to be exciting too, with the same clubs going at it. We know how closely matched these guys are. This is going to be great when we get to the oval side in a few minutes' time as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we had a blast on the oval side of things last night. UK and Ireland versus Japan ended up being that final position. No, sorry, it was second and third that decided that one. A very close battle between UK and Ireland and Japan there. UK and Ireland won out in the end. So we'll definitely be looking forward to seeing how Northwest and Canada go. But the brief break between races is over. We are now into the decider. And it is going to be an inverted grid once again. Claude Belval on pole with Scott Velez in second. Brian Barnes third. Chris Beck fourth. Fifth, Wayne Hutchison. Jean-Francois Matt starts in sixth. Dick Mueller seventh. Robert Laronde in eighth. Matthew Suboski in ninth. And completing the top 10, Jean-Francois Arsenault. So Canada back on the advantageous side.
Isn't it funny just seeing how there's one club dominant on one side of the grid from the other? It's pretty cool to see. So get ready to go. This is the final. This is the main event. Winner takes all.
Yes, indeed. The green flag flies. Team Canada up at the front. Claude Belval and Scott Velez leading the charge. It looks like they're going to maintain that.
Oh, who's that driving through the middle?
Oh,
is that Hawken again? Look at the moves. Oh, nice contact between teammates as well. But Brandon Hawken straight away from last up into seventh and about to take sixth.
That's crazy there, Brandon Hawken. Look at the run that he's
got.
Oh,
that's Seitz.
Yeah, more cars around there in the background. Goodness me, Greg Seitz. He is the best hope for Northwest in terms of pace, and that is really unfortunate for him.
Hawken now up to sixth, looking to make moves up into fifth. He's about to take fourth as well. Brendan Hawken is so good in these cars side by side. It's dangerous.
Oh, very much so. And Chris Beck really hung out to dry there, and he's running wide.
Just going to go back and get a replay of the incident for Greg Seitz and see what happened there to him.
Yes, indeed. So
There's
he
a fair
was
bit of help in his spin there.
Yeah, he was right in the thick of it there, and it was rear-end contact between him and Arzano, I believe. So
Yeah.
that's really unfortunate between those two. Meanwhile, though, Canada running 1,
Wow.
2, 3, 4.
Going to be tough for Northwest to come back from here.
Yes, indeed. Sorry,
Oh,
Jay.
another one off.
Oh,
Ronde off the track. Wasn't 10th, he's dropped back to 14th, so it's going to be tough for him now. Only one car pitted on that first lap.
goodness me. Just so chaotic between these two clubs. But, oh, have a look at that. Hawken now through into third. Matt just letting him go. Coming into the top section of the circuit. But Team Canada still occupying those top 4 positions. Wait, hang on a minute. Oh yeah, Claude Belval. Belval had issues, I think. He's lost a few positions.
Yeah, he has. It's just dropping back down the field a little bit, but possibly the same issues we saw him have in that first race. Michael Jones also running into some tech issues and may be out of the race as well, as we've got Dick Miller in the pits. So got a couple of battles still going on.
Oh
Sixth and seventh out on
we got a
track.
Canada
Oh, no.
car off. That's Matt. Jean-Francois Matt hard into the wall out of Paddock Hill Bend.
Oh, watch out with the rejoin as well. He's got massive damage. He needs to pull that car over because that's too heavily damaged.
Yeah,
see what
and he's
happened.
right into the wall once again. So let's have a look at what happened to him. Looks like it may have just been a loss on exit over this curb. Oh, he just hit that dip in the road and the floor of the car just gave way. That's a real shame for him.
Where there's the change in surface there. It's caught a lot of drivers out throughout this weekend, and no doubt we'll see more of that the next round. Coming up next weekend, of course, the finals will be live here on the iRacing eSports Network. We've got 2 cars off the circuit. Arsenault and Seitz. Seitz has been in the wars in this race.
Yeah, he certainly has. Oh, goodness
off
me.
again.
He's off again. Yeah, from lap 1, it's just been a downhill slide for him. So they went side by side earlier on in the lap. So this is the view with Greg Seitz. He got a really good run on Arsenault. And of course, Arsenault defending around the outside very well, but then obviously it was very awkward coming into that section. So Arsenault and Seitz coming together again. And they are both in the pits.
No love lost between those guys in this race. They've got Seitz in getting a lot of damage fixed. He could be race done, which is really disappointing for the Northwest club.
Yes, indeed. Absolutely. Meanwhile, up ahead of him, Derek Rolveld attempting to come out of the pits, but he's stopped once again. Looks like that may be a retirement for Derek Rolveld. He's just not able to get that car going to his satisfaction. Michael Jones, unfortunately, having some technical issues. He is back in the server, but goodness me. For Northwest, it's an absolute disaster.
Yep, it's gone from bad to worse as Chris Beck has just been passed as well. Still got 8 cars left to pit, and Beck straight ahead hits the wall hard.
Oh, goodness me. And that's right where the pits are too. So he is going to have to go around for a whole lap before he can go in and get that thing fixed.
Let's get another CPR replay. We'll get the pass first, and then we'll see the heavy hit in the wall at the end. I reckon that's just a lapse in concentration after a car's gone past. We say it in lots and lots of our broadcasts that when you've been the lead car and then become the trailing car, your concentration levels change, your braking points change, and it's really easy to make mistakes whether you are in the lead or whether you are the trailing car. We just see, is that a hardware failure? Because it just didn't turn.
Yeah, I don't know. It seemed like his line was very off coming into the last turn. Not quite sure what...
With the car ahead, maybe.
Perhaps, but whatever happened, he completely sailed past the apex of that last turn and into the wall. He is back out on the circuit now, but at a reduced pace.
Belval and Fuller going out at 3rd and 4th, so we've now got 1, 2, 3 for Team Canada. 4th is for the Northwest Club. This is not settled, it is not over.
No, certainly not. Andy Fuller in hot pursuit of Belval, who has had a very difficult night with his hardware failures. He's just gotten a good exit though, so you can tell that he has what it takes to go up against these Northwest guys. But it seems to me like Canada is definitely with the advantage here at the moment.
Yep, definitely a big advantage for Team Canada, and I think the big thing is that the fastest drivers for the Northwest Club are sitting in the pits, which is going to hurt them come the end of this race. We've still got half the field to pit as we reach the halfway point in this race, but yeah, I'm very surprised to see the number of incidents we have in this race. It's more than we've seen throughout the entire night.
Yeah, certainly. It's quite bizarre. We've had a lot of contact. Of course, these teams probably, with that second race done, may have thought that the night was over and let their guard down a little bit, but having to get right back into it, obviously, it's had to... Obviously, they've been very out of it, I guess you could say.
Yeah, probably just a little lapse in concentration with the actual break. We've gone race back to back, then they actually had a tiny little break, and that could actually impact how your psychological advantage or disadvantage is. It could absolutely ruin your mindset. Some people might have even taken a break, walked away and come back in. Not quite ready, not quite settled, a little bit rushed. That could have impacted, especially with what we saw in the first lap and a half, or first 2 laps of racing. But it's on for 3rd here. This is getting very, very tight.
Yeah, certainly is. Andy Fuller has caught back up to Claude Belval. Just bouncing off the rev limiter coming into the last turn, and Fuller straight into the pits. I think that is a very sound decision from Fuller.
I agree. It's a good ploy to get in the pits. Easier to pass from the pits than it is out on the track in these cars. So we'll see if Fuller can get the advantage. I'm going to say that Belval will be in the pits next lap, because he needs to negate that advantage that Fuller could get. Fuller's already stopped and away. He's going to rejoin back in 5th position. The lead car out of all of our drivers that have pitted in this race. Talking about that 17-second gap, 16.5 looks to be about the magic number for where you'll maintain a position. That'll put Fuller up into 3rd at the current pace.
Indeed it will. But whatever the case, Team Canada, they are dominating this race. Seems that they have definitely got one hand on the trophy for this quarter-final. Belval, Velez, and Hawken just cruising out there in the top 3 positions.
And that's all it is at the moment, just a cruise for these guys. They just want to lap consistently. They don't want to push too hard, force too many issues. That Belval does come into the pits to try and negate this advantage. We'll see how close this is. I think that Andy Fuller's going to get the advantage and jump on by.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Another car jumping into the pits in front of Fuller. That's Arzano. So let's have a look at what happens here. It looks like Fuller will go by into 3rd.
Good stop there from Fuller to get that advantage. Pretty much identical pit stop times. Pit lane times almost identical as well. So good advantage there in favour of Andy Fuller to get that spot. Moves into 3rd outright.
Excellent stuff. So now we wait to see what Velez and Hawken do. Hawken, I think it will be business as usual. He'll leave it as late as possible to pit. Velez, on the other hand, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, not sure on that one either. So it's going to be an interesting one to see. We'll find out very soon. Here we go. Bella's in.
Indeed.
And no surprise that Hawken stays out.
Yes, indeed.
Just getting the old calculator ahead again, Reese. So let's work this out. But as it is, looks like it will be well and truly advantage Team Canada. 75 points based on their current positions, which puts 46 for Northwest. So as it is right now, a big advantage for Team Canada. Need one of the top couple of drivers to have an issue in this race for the Northwest club to be able to come back. They have got the 11th place car. No, they don't actually. Sorry, Ron Gale is in 11th place for Team Canada. So even if there was an issue for the drivers up the top, Team Canada would still get a few points back. It wouldn't make as big an advantage as Hawken actually comes in one lap earlier than he did in the previous couple of races. End of lap 10 instead of end of lap 11.
Changing it up.
Yeah, he's just throwing us a curveball there, Reese.
Yeah.
Not many
This
battles going on
changes
out on
everything.
track at the moment. It changes everything and nothing at the same time.
Well, Hawken making his way back through the pit lane, across the line, and away he goes. Holding on to that lead very convincingly.
And have a look at the car he's come out ahead of. That would have been a fun battle if these guys were on the lead lap and Sights with no damage. But unfortunately, Sights is 4 laps down.
Yeah, real shame there for Sights. You got to think, if he hadn't had that contact on lap 1, what would have happened? The steering wheel is slightly right hand down. And you can tell he is just not pushing that thing at all. He's just out there to circulate, possibly get a position if there are problems further up the field.
He's got a full lap to the next car ahead, so he hasn't really got much to gain, but there is some positions that could change here. 6th, 7th and 8th position up for grabs right now. Moronde's got some good pace at the moment and might be able to steal 6th away from Ryan Barnes.
Yes, indeed. And of course, right behind them, they've got Arzano as well. You can see Laurent is... he doesn't have as much of a straight line advantage as Barnes does. But right through the turns, he is all over the back of the Northwest driver. Oh, big lunge under brakes.
One lap to go. Will we see a position change? Will we see any controversy? Wayne Hutchison off the circuit from 10th position.
Ooh.
Big hit in the wall. He's not going to lose any spots, thankfully. Let's quickly see what's happened to him. The drivers do start the last lap. And we'll go back to that battle between Barnes and Laronde. Oh no, there's been an issue there as well. We'll stay on replay because there's been contact between all 3 of those drivers.
Oh dear.
So Hutchison just lazy spin back in both directions now here. This is the controversial moment in this race. Barnes, Laronde. What's happened? Oh!
Ooh.
Laronde's just made heavy contact.
No. Oh,
and then all 3
goodness
of them
me.
just come together really hard.
That's really not the best.
Not much else you can say than not the best. There's controversy aplenty and that's not just nowhere to go. Just the pace that you have in these cars, it's so hard to get the car facing the right direction. But congratulations, Brandon Hawken, winning all 3 races. That's a phenomenal drive. It is on for 2nd and 3rd at the end. that Andy Fuller almost got Scott Valles only 800ths of a second at the finish line.
Wow, so really good performance there from Andy Fuller in the last couple of laps, and from 13th to 3rd. Awesome result there, but Team Canada, well, it seems that they still have the advantage, but that incident between Barnes, Laurent, and Arsenault, that's certainly going to throw a bit of a curveball, I think.
Going to be discussed quite heavily post-race, no doubt, but unofficial results are up on screen now.
Yes, indeed. Brandon Hawken, once again, taking a dominant win. Scott Velez making it a 1-2 for Canada. Andy Fuller and Claude Belval, with Dick Mueller completing the top 5. Matthew Saboski, the quiet achiever, in 6th place there. Jean-Francois Arsenault in 7th provisionally. Brian Barnes in 8th. Wayne Hutchison 9th. And the top 10 rounded out by Robert Laurent. And it is confirmed from the admins that Canada win.
Congratulations to Team Canada on picking up the win. We're going to go to a very, very quick break, end this stream, restart the next one, because the next race is coming up right now here on SimSpeed TV. Don't go anywhere. This is the 10th annual World Cup of iRacing. We'll be back very, very soon. Thank you very much for watching.
The following is a presentation of the iRacing eSports Network.